One of the other things I really liked about the trailer, the Ahsoka trailer, is we see Sabine, and she's sort of visiting the mural that she's done, which was the same mural we see in the cartoon.
Yeah.
And it looks just like it's from and I love the idea that the animated depiction of those stories is essentially in her art style. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
That's great.
That's a brilliant touch. Did you get the link I sent you about the Wilhelm scream?
That was really great. That has to be recent, right?
Yeah, it was
like a recent discovery.
Right. Yeah. I forget.
They still don't know who did the scream. But this is the actual ADR session, so you hear him, whoever it is, being instructed.
The first one you did up here was much better.
It's like, yeah, no, try again. It's better up in the high. It's like, that sounded better. And yeah, it was great.
I like
the Wilhelm scream. I listen for it all the time, especially when you know movies being made by a film nerd, like your Spielbergs and so forth. You're like, where are they going to put it? Oh, there it is.
I mean, that's kind of how most of us became familiar with it, is that it's in every indie film. It's in every Star Wars film at least once.
Yep.
I think sometimes multiple times. But my favorite thing about those outtakes is that the previously unreleased Wilhelm scream that follows the one that we know, where it's like kind of a less enthusiastic one, like instead of it's like
Yeah, you're like, is it getting close to lunch? Is that it? You need your blood sugar's low. Well, being eaten by an alligator, wasn't that the prompt? Was man being eaten by alligator?
Yeah,
a man getting bit by an alligator and he screams.
It's just like I'm just resigned to my fate.
It was cool to hear too the director doing like like a scream, a real scream with pain.
Oh! Not an owl, a real scream of pain.
Yeah,
like sort of an old-timey director, character.
I also just love that for something that not inconsequential, but at the same time, that is just, it's not even, that's probably not the film director. It's just some guy who's like in charge of running that session. Yeah, but it's like, they're caring. It's like, they're not phoning it in. It's like, no, you're getting eaten by an alligator. We need to really hear it.
Yeah.
Let me hear that. Hear that pain. And it is a classic. And I do love that as far as, when you look towards nerdery of that kind of film stuff, it just bonds everybody who knows what a Wilhelm scream is. In other words, I could go up to Quentin Tarantino or George Lucas and we could talk about the Wilhelm scream, and they know that I know, and I know that they know, and we could all talk about how awesome it is and all the tributes and where it's been fitted in. I mean, it was in all those Tarzan pictures, and then of course those were the things that they grew up on. So when they're making indie and so forth, they're like, oh, we got to throw one in. There it is. Love it.
Has anybody ever used it like out of context? Used in some weird situation?
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm very willing to bet that Seth MacFarlane and a Family Guy has probably somehow had Wilhelm scream joke in there. I don't know for a fact, but it just seems like something he'd probably have a character named Wilhelm, and they just poke him and he goes, ah!
Yeah. And now that we have the alternate takes, I wonder if we're going to start hearing those in movies.
Oh,
too.
Yeah, of course.
Like the first one.
You could populate a whole scene with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes, no, not a ho, not a ow.
Yeah.
Not ow.
It's the first one sort of sounds like something from Hanna-Barbera. Like, ow!
Oh!
Getting hit on the foot with a mallet or something. Anyway.
This isn't for the animation department. Come on.
So speaking of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, was it last week?
Those are good. Those are
good. Yeah. I'm quite fond of them. Was it last week that Star Wars Celebration happened with All those trailers getting dumped?
It was, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, but yes, all the trailers dropping and announcements and Daisy Ridley just being adorable and Rosario Dawson being badass, and then the live action, what's his name? Clacker?
Oh,
the droid from Rebels.
Right. Yeah.
Did you ever watch that?
I have, and I'm drawing a blank now.
It's Clunker or Clacker or something like that. I can't remember. Not my favorite character, but still, the fact that all of the Rebels now, all those characters are now going to be live action people is pretty nifty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, those trailers were, I mean, Ahsoka, come on, man.
It looks absolutely spectacular, and to me, it looks like the most exciting thing we've seen, like, since the Force Awakens trailer. To me, it's like, wow, this is really hitting all the notes of things you're kind of wanting to see in Star Wars.
Now, my question to you, because I was talking about this with John, because I see him too frequently, whereas I get to talk to you once a week. But how familiar are you with Thrawn?
Enough, I think. I did read part. I attempted to read Heir to the Empire, probably because Jerry had recommended it to me. So I know that he's really into those novels.
Well, it was also, I mean, when those came out, I didn't. I think I did try the first book, and I actually never really got much into the Star Wars novels.
Me neither.
Comics to some degree, but to me, they always seemed like weak sauce. I'm like, this is just to fill the Star Wars hole in our lives.
Yeah.
And it's not what I want. Right. Though I know, and I totally respect people who were all in and read all of it and believed all of that and whatever. But
I kind of lost interest.
I don't really know the character.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't? Thrawn?
I mean, not much. I read the Heir of the Empire adaptation for Dark Horse, but that was years ago.
Okay. Well,
I know he's blue and he has red eyes.
There's a really good portrayal of him in Rebels. They brought him back. Was it the last couple seasons of Rebels?
Yeah, that's
so you really do need to finish that before Ahsoka starts.
All right, dude. Jesus Christ. All right, I'll see you later. I guess I can get a few episodes in.
But they do a really good job with him. From what I know, what I knew of the character before, it's Lars Mikkelsen, not Lars. Yeah, it is Lars. Mads is the other guy.
Yeah,
Lars Mikkelsen plays him, and he does the voice obviously for Rebels. Now he's going to be playing in live action, which is great news. So that he does a great job with him. His character is, I think, really well portrayed based on what I knew of him before. He's a villain like we've never seen in Star Wars. I think in any other, he's almost kind of like I'm going to say like a Sherlock Holmes type villain, because he's really just viciously intelligent and unpredictable.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why some people were hoping that Benedict Cumberbatch would play him, but there was some fan art portraying him. That would have been amazing, but I'm glad we've got Lars all the same.
Now, is he a clone, or there are clones of him?
No, he's just a Chiss blue dude.
I think what I was getting mixed up with is that Heir of the Empire, that storyline, they're not really adapting because they've changed all that. I think that plot line was Thrawn.
Yeah,
was cloning the Emperor, right? That was the thing. Is that he was bringing the Emperor back.
I didn't get that far.
And I do know that in Mandalorian they mentioned, or is it? Oh yeah, that Project Necromancy,
right?
Or Necromancer. That is the cloning of Palpatine project that leads to the sequel trilogy. So it is Filoni. Yeah, it seems like Filoni and Jon Favreau are, and especially with them announcing a Rey solo movie, is them going like, we're not going to reboot the sequels. We're just going to try and fix that stuff. We're going to try and accept what they gave us and make it better. Which I think is their stock and trade, because, I mean, that was their whole thing with Boba Fett was we're going to accept the Sarlacc pit and all that, but we're going to try and bring him back, but we're not going to deny anything you've already seen. We're just going to explain it better.
It really is kind of Dave Filoni's wheelhouse too, although he's not doing the Rey movie, obviously. I wish he would, honestly. If they have to do it, I kind of wish Dave was at the helm of that. And he might be by that point, who knows.
I'm okay with them doing it. I don't blame the faults of the sequels on that character. It's what they did.
Yeah, this is the story.
I like Daisy Ridley a lot as Rey, so I'm excited, but I still feel like short shrift was given to everybody and whatever.
What I mean by Dave Filoni's wheelhouse is that he did kind of do that with the Clone Wars, was sort of him fixing the prequels in a sense, or he's him fleshing out that whole story and bringing a lot of that story to life. That stuff that Lucas actually had in mind. It was all Lucas was doing that stuff with him. The first, whatever it was, six seasons of Clone Wars was in collaboration with Lucas himself. So that's one of the reasons why that stuff is so good. So they do seem to be kind of heading in that direction, and I'm still in denial about it. I'm like, no, but they could. This looks like they're driving towards. Look up there. There's a sequels at the last minute. They're going to go like spin off in some other direction. I keep hoping that's going to happen.
No.
The thing about the Rey. Here's the thing about the Rey movie. A lot of these announcements, because of what's happened in recent years, I would take a lot of this with a grain of salt, because there's been so many announcements from Lucasfilm that just have not panned out. Do I even need to name them?
And there are movies that were announced and have been abandoned, and there's all kinds of shifting.
Yeah, so it's quite possible this Rey thing might never happen, at least not the way it's been planned right now. They know they have somebody writing it. They have somebody set to direct it.
Over the failure of it. It might happen, and it might be good.
I hope it is. Obviously,
yes.
I don't want any of these movies to fail. But
not a single one of them.
And I got to stop complaining about this, but I just wish they didn't have to accommodate that terrible story.
I know what you're saying, and me too. Yeah. I actually would have been okay, except when it came to the people involved. I would have totally been okay with them scrapping the sequels and starting over. I would feel terrible for the actors who worked so hard on it, and including the writers and directors, including J.J. Abrams, even though he messed up a lot of it he's the primary problem with a lot of it. But I would be okay with them saying, oops, let's try that again. But I also realize how they just can't. I mean, they just can't. The money was spent. The action figures were made. They can easily say all those novels you guys have been reading for 25 years are nonsense, non-canonical stuff, because people can go read them if they want. But we're not going to, delete the files. They're still there. They just didn't really happen. The movies are the real deal. And then you go, but what if the movies screw up? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
We just have to embrace it. We have to embrace Ewoks instead of Wookiees.
Right.
Damn, man. If it had happened on Kashyyyk and it was all Wookiees, dude, taking down Imperial walkers, come on.
It's funny? This was a sign, just an emblematic of the times we were in. Paul and I, who we met each other that school year, it was our eighth grade at Linear Middle School. And he and I both went to a Comic-Con. It was out at the Galleria, I believe. And there was a panel where somebody was giving a presentation on the soon-to-be-released Return of the Jedi. So this was probably...
wow.
This might have been late in the fall of 82. So it was maybe about 6 months before the movie came out. And so he was showing us a slide presentation of like concept art and things like that, and basic plot elements and stuff. I have a feeling now this guy was not official. He was probably just like an industry like nerd who had gotten some leaks and things. I have no idea what this was. He probably
clipped a lot of pictures out of Starlog and turned them into slides.
But he had artwork of concept artwork, which I'm guessing was Endor, but they were just assuming that it was Kashyyyk. It's like we're going to Chewbacca's homeworld. We're going to see this. We were all going, yes. So that just added insult to injury when we actually went to go see Return of the Jedi, and we've got these Ewoks.
I think it did get leaked, whether it was through fan
what
stuff
was the original
or
idea?
official
Yeah.
channels.
Yeah.
But in other words, I knew. So I knew enough of that was going to be a thing to be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw, I was all down, and Return of the Jedi I still really enjoy, but I sit there going, it's just undercut. There's some really heavy stuff here, and it's undercut by cute little furry things. And no offense to the actors who played the Ewoks, no offense to the designers who designed them, but you just sit there and it's so coldly commercial. And you can say it's easier to find little people actors than it is to find actors who are over 6 foot tall. I get that. But still, I'm sitting there going like, oh man, teddy bears. You just look at it going, that is Kenner. That is 20th Century Fox going, Christmas will be coming up after that movie, and we want them to buy tons of shit. So make sure you got these old adorable little teddy bears ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fine metaphor of David versus Goliath. It's like, okay, it's the little primitive people versus the technological. Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, but
it would have been so much cooler. It would have been so much
cooler.
Would have been awesome
if it was fucking Wookiees taking them out. God damn it. They had the sets left over from the holiday special. Don't even tell me that.
That's right.
Anyway.
But I didn't really. I remember being disappointed, and that movie came out, like especially like at the end, because I didn't know. None of us knew really what was going to happen with Darth Vader at the end. At that point,
yeah.
So when he did suddenly change his mind and become good at the end, I was like, my first reaction was like, "What? He's a good guy now? I'm supposed to like him now? Like what is this?" It really wasn't until much later, rewatching it on VHS, that I started to appreciate much more the father-son dynamic, the relationship that was being conveyed in those final scenes.
I know that they had to cram it in a small space. I do think they did it well. I think that was also undercut by. It was undercut by the visual, where no offense to that actor, but it's like, oh, that's what he looks like under the helmet, and he doesn't sound anything like what the person who would have been making a James Earl Jones voice. So you're like, this doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But the message is fine of him going like, I screwed up, just let me die. And you're like, oh, it's pretty good. It could have been better. It just could have been better. It just boils down to that. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm not sure if Hayden Christensen is also what I picture when you take the fucking helmet off, but whatever. Them swapping out the Force Ghost, I was like, oh, dude, that's when they did that with the reissue.
With
when you're like, oh, now it's Hayden Christensen because Anakin died when he became Darth Vader. So his Force Ghost would be the good, young, hot version going, I'm not that old bald dude.
Yeah,
I'm waving creepy at you. Yeah.
He does like that Hayden creepy, like, brow stare or whatever you want to call it that he does.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Anyway.
Hey, yeah. Hey, look, it's me and Obi-Wan. Yeah. We had our issues. Now we're buddies. We're ghost buddies. Oh, look, and there's Yoda. We're all ghost buddies.
Yeah, what I find amusing about that too is throughout the years, Mark Hamill's been pretty outspoken, just like he was about Last Jedi. He doesn't. He was pretty disappointed with how The Last Jedi turned out. But he was disappointed in Return of the Jedi as well. And he told George, I know that's a common thing people say. Well, there weren't enough people saying no to George. Mark was saying no to him because I guess he'd gotten an early treatment of it, or maybe George had told him we're going to have the Wookiees come in. It'll be great. And then he gets the first script and it's Ewoks instead of Wookiees. And he's like, George, what happened to the Wookiees? So, it's a kid's movie. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Even back then, Luke was foreseeing the disappointment of fans. I mean, Mark was seeing it. Because,
yeah. Make sure you get the actor and the character separated. I know that's hard for you.
Yeah.
You keep going up to him at conventions going, could you lift an X-Wing out of a swamp? I sure would like to see you lift an X-Wing out of the swamp with just your mind. Could you do it?
Did you see this mashup that somebody did where they took the guy who did the Room? I'm trying to remember the name. The director of the
Tommy
Room.
Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau, and they put him into the Last Jedi trailer where he's throwing a football at Mark Hamill on Octo, and it just bounces off. It's so well done. It just bounces off Mark's head. He goes, "Oh, hi, Mark." Throws a football at him, and it just goes. It's really great. Anyway.
I'll look that up.
So
no, but I did see the trailer for his next movie, and
oh, really?
Yeah, it's like Land Shark or something, and I mean, yeah, the man is a terrible filmmaker. Now he's gotten the okay from Hollywood to be a bad director and make bad movies on purpose, and then you're like, yeah, it's better when you find the bad filmmakers when they think they're actually being great. Once they're in on the joke, then it's like, why do I want to go watch him purposefully make a terrible movie? It has terrible effects of a shark, and he's fighting it, and whatever.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. No, I know you're not going to rush right out and see it.
Is it really called Land Shark?
No, like it's something like that. It's something like that, and it
Land Shark the movie.
It's kind of that because the shark is somehow swimming in streets and stuff. I'm going to look it up.
Telegram. I would pay money to see that.
Telegram. Candygram.
Yeah. Flowers.
It's like, no, I know what you are. You're that land shark. And he goes, I'm only a dolphin. Okay, let's see. Tommy Wiseau, what are you up to these days? Oh, it's called Big Shark. It's literally called Big Shark.
Okay. Ooh.
Big Shark. That just is like, it's like calling a movie Ambulance.
Yeah.
Or Plane.
Yeah.
Both of which I have mocked roundly, and yet John's like, okay, they're both really good movies. And I'm like, yeah, they might be, but I can't go see a movie called Cargo Vehicle. You know, I just can't do that. I can't go see a movie called Hand Truck.
All right, so let's get back. This is a very meandering episode. Part of the reason why
it's what we do. It's what we do.
But part of the reason why I'm all over the place right now is, folks, we're recording this on the eve of the Mandalorian finale, which we have not seen. Obviously, we haven't seen it.
I know.
And
we would be talking about that.
One night after that, we get the Picard season 3 finale. So we're like, right now.
I'm right there with you. And I will say, well, I'll ask you your opinion. I think that after a series low episode, the next episode of Mando was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'm very much looking forward to how they wrap it up. There's so many things that could happen. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. So
yeah, I try not to. I mean, unless they're literally just pointing at, because with Picard, it's a cliffhanger. We know what the whole thing is. Oh my God, Starfleet has been simulated into Borg agents, and they're about to blow up the Earth.
Yeah.
So we know what to expect. But with Mandalorian, it has been very all over the place, and we're not quite sure what plot lines are even going to bother wrapping up, other than the fate of the Mandalorians. Who's the spy? Who's the other spy?
Yeah.
It can't be the armorer. It can't be the armorer.
I'm not
She's
fond of
too
that theory
cool.
either.
She's too cool.
Let's circle back around to this towards the end, because people are like, we already know what happened since this finale.
I trust you to be the guide.
So we also found out that, damn it, what's his name? The guy who's doing Indy 5.
It's James Mangold.
Mangold, thank you.
Yes, James Mangold.
Yeah, James Mangold is slated to do. I'm very excited to hear about this. I think it's called The Acolyte. Is that right, or something like that? The
Acolyte. Yeah, the earliest we'll ever get in the Star Wars.
Yeah,
universe.
So it's like the beginnings of the Force and the beginnings of the Jedi and stuff. And like, great.
I will say this: he used that as a description. I was like, No, it should be the beginnings of people's awareness of the Force. That's me being really nitpicky, because the Force doesn't have an origin. It's always there. It's the source of life and light. It's like, you don't have it show up.
Yeah.
It's always been there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's mean. And he says, he goes, this is like, he said this will be like the 10 Commandments in the Star Wars universe.
I love it.
I'm like, bring it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. He's also the guy slated to do Swamp Thing.
Yes.
Oh,
So they finally made it. We already suspected that was the case, but they made it official.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of it being Superman Day, did you see James Gunn's post for that?
No, I did not. What did he do?
He just on Twitter he posted the title page. He goes,
"Oh, that's it." Yeah,
he said pre-production starts today. Appropriately, pre-production is starting on Superman Day.
Love it.
So the script's done. They're already talking to costumers. They have not cast it yet, but I mean, come on.
That's so exciting.
Please don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Dear Mr. Gunn.
Yeah.
I am just a little boy of 54 years old, and I'm asking you, please do not fuck up Superman.
So also, God, I'm having another name loss.
Well, don't worry, I got my other browser ready. You let me know.
The guy who played Kingpin.
D'Onofrio. Vincent
D'Onofrio has come out. It was during a panel.
Oh, he came out. Good for him.
He came out as saying
that
he wants to play Swamp Thing in this movie. So he put it out there, and I thought,
I will say it's a great part. Now, if he wants to play Alec Holland before Swamp Thing, I'm like, well, you're a little too old and you're really heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, he fluctuates. I don't mean to body shame at all.
Right.
And he literally does pack it on to be Wilson Fisk. Let's not forget that one of the first things he ever did was Adventures of Babysitting, where he was the car mechanic who looked like Thor. Mm-hmm. I mean, the guy can get cut when he needs to. And you're like, wow. And then years later.
Yeah. I could see him doing, yeah, you're right. He is a bit old to be doing Alec. But
I could see, for an actor of his, I mean, he's amazing.
He could do mocap for Swamp Thing so well, for sure.
Yes. And it is just about, it's not, I know for a fact he's not sitting there going, oh boy, another comic book movie. It's that character. There's so much you can do with that. And I'm sure actors are like going, yeah, come on. It's got the tragic monster thing, but it's also got this poetry to it. And it's like, oh man, I want to do that part. I want to do that part now.
I would love to see him as a hero too, because we haven't seen D'Onofrio do anything except just really disturbingly twisted characters.
Well, I mean, yeah, for a while. Because what was it? Criminal Intent? One of the Law and Orders, where he was sort of a Sherlock type, brilliant detective, and he was on that for seasons, and he was great. But it was one of those things like, I don't really know how to deal with people, but I've got a brilliant mind. And you're like, great. So he was heroic.
Yeah. So I know he's actually incredibly dynamic actor. Yeah, he can do anything. I always think of obviously Kingpin, and then I think of Edgar from the Men in Black, and and his character in Full Metal Jacket, which might have been his first movie. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think it was his first movie. I think actually, I could be wrong, but I think Adventures in Babysitting was before that.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I hope he gets that. I think that'd be cool if they can make it work.
I'm down for it. I want a good actor, and I'm sure James Mangold, since he's at the level he's at, and I'm sure that they'll be pumping some money in because of the James Gunn DCEU or DCU train. They're not going to half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched both those original Swamp Thing movies, man. Oof. I watched some of the TV series. It's,
it's high camp.
Neither.
Most of it,
Yeah. High camp.
Yeah.
I mean, Toby Hooper. I like Toby Hooper, but I'm like, I guess for the time period, that's as good as you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Adrian Barbeau and a guy in a latex suit.
Yeah.
All right.
I was quite fond of Adrian Barbeau when I was a kid.
Hey.
I think it really was a comic that
I want that to be a little sound bite that we use. And you go,
I think I might actually have
and
it.
I'll title it Adrian Barbeau is what I'll title that wave file.
I think there was. I think they actually put her on the cover. Or maybe I'm getting this wrong. There was an issue of Swamp Thing that came out when that movie came out, which is actually still from the film.
Oh, really?
Of Swamp Thing. But the inside is just a comic depiction of the movie. I have that in my box over here. I haven't dug it out yet.
Interesting.
Anyway.
I haven't had the floppies to Swamp Thing in a long time, but I've got, of course, well, actually, I have the pre-Alan Moore stuff they collected as the Saga of the Swamp Thing, which is all the Bernie Wrightson, the original like horror stuff. And then when Alan Moore took over, of course, I've got all those hardcovers because the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run, just one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesus, the man, whatever he touched, he may hate all of it now or mock it. I don't care. It's great. Alan, you've divorced yourself from the industry, and that's okay. They did you wrong. But goddamn, the stuff he did, it's immortal.
So, and then we also found out that they're planning to do, apparently this, like the year before or a year after the Rey movie. This is all just speculative planning.
Is this something that came out during
yes,
the Expo?
Celebration? That they're going to do a sort of a big event movie for the Mandoverse stuff, which I'm guessing now, because we're getting Thrawn, it's probably going to be essentially Heir to the Empire, the movie. So, and
all these players will be in it.
Yeah.
We'll have Ahsoka, we'll have Thrawn, we'll have Mando, we'll probably have Boba Fett for a little bit. I wonder if we're getting any Jedi. I mean, besides Ahsoka.
Yeah. I'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that.
So I'm curious about that too, because I think I heard that rumor. Then I actually saw the Ahsoka trailer where she actually says "Heir to the Empire" in the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, they're probably
and everyone in the crowd lost their shit.
Yeah, they're probably going to do an adaptation of that storyline. So you're probably right. They're going to kind of go in that direction, but not exactly.
They're going to, but what they're going to do is they're going to fold what they've been doing or what happened in the sequels. They're going to hodgepodge it.
Yeah,
it's the books, but through what needs to happen to make the sequels work.
But they're probably, I mean, unless they're planning to bring the legacy characters back into it again, they may have to shift the storytelling out into the unknown regions, which apparently is where Thrawn has been most of this time. Because if he is back in the main galaxy, they'd have to do some gymnastics to try to explain why Luke Skywalker is not involved like he was in the novels. So
very true.
So we'll see.
Well, he's off. He's established his Jedi school, and maybe there's like a little baby Kylo Ren going, "Gabba gabba, gonna kill my dad."
Yeah. Oh, God.
If only they had listened closer to what little Ben Solo was talking about.
He's so cute.
Oh,
did he say kill his dad? No. It's just...
Oh, he says the craziest things.
So what else was there? Well, we have obviously the stuff we already know is coming, like Skeleton Crew with Jude Law, which looks interesting.
I can't. I mean, that one. I mean, did they have footage or anything? They just introduced the cast, right?
They may have been shown footage at the celebration, but we haven't seen it.
Well, I didn't see any. So the story, I don't quite. I don't have a grasp of it. I'm just like, okay, it's yet another thing announced.
Yeah. And
Taika Waititi is the guy going like, "Oh, I promise I'm going to get around to doing my Star Wars thing. I just have too much else on my plate."
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I'll believe this when I see it. And until we see a trailer, I'm not going to believe any of the shit.
I hear you. Yeah.
So, which I think that was all the main Star Wars stuff. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. At least the stuff that I care about.
Well, I mean, with Star Wars, with even the DCU at this point, it's all hopeful optimism. But there is for me a division as a fan where I go, will anything they do meet my expectations or my wants? Usually not. And if they get really close, I'm very happy. I am glad to be a fan that has an inner life and creative life outside of that, to where it's not totally wrapped up. I can feel betrayed by the superhero movies. I mean, in a nerd way, where I'm like going, damn it, they gave you, whoever, director, writer, blah, blah, the keys to the kingdom, and that's what you did?
Mm-hmm.
And I can sit there going, I could have done better. They didn't call, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But at the same time, I do have the perspective to go, it's like in my head, there's some platonic ideal of all of these things, and they're never really ever going to get there. Marvel has my vote for so long simply because they have surprised me at how well they have done over a long period of time. Not everything's genius, not everything hits solidly, but I still sit there going like, care was taken,
mm-hmm.
and I was entertained.
Yeah.
Did you see the trailer for the Marvels?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it looks fun.
I mean, and it looks fun. The one thing I will say is, as a trailer, that didn't blow me away. As a trailer that, I mean, it didn't even have, like, and I know this is early days, the Quantum Mania trailer did blow me away. Song choice, all of that was really great. This felt like, oh, I can't wait to see my friends again. That was basically it.
Yeah.
And I will say, stealing the show is how do you pronounce her name?
The one playing Kamala Khan?
Yes.
I don't know her name.
It's Imana, maybe something. No disrespect by not getting her name right, but she lights it up. She lights up the screen, and she does get to be the character that's cute and funny because, oh my God, she's a fangirl. Like, Nick Fury, hey, how you doing? Is this an Avengers test? Oh, that's very funny. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll build. My expectations will build, but I also realize, people are maybe getting a little tired, and I get that. I'm still going to go, and I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, I think this way, I saw a couple things about this recently that, and I think this was all stuff that happened under Chapek's, Bob Chapek. I don't know if we can squarely blame him for this, but Marvel's output was absolutely insane there for a few years. Yeah. And I think Ant-Man was hopefully the last one that came out that's going to be suffering from that rush job that they've been, the gun that they've been under for several years. Now that Bob Iger's back, that was something Bob Iger said, that they're trying to scale things back and be more realistic about their output. And after seeing Ant-Man, I understand why he said that, because it was a solid idea that just they didn't finish. They didn't finish the movie, really.
But I will say, to me, not in any destructive way. But yes, you can see that. I
still enjoyed it. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. I'd watch it again. But yeah, there were so many moments where I'm like, oh, they didn't finish that effect, or ooh, this. I see there was another ending here originally, and they changed their mind at the last minute for some stupid reason, which turned out to be true. So anyway, but yeah, I'm hopeful that things are going to turn around there, because they got a little off track there for a couple of years, where I just think that didn't seem like they were being quite as meticulous.
It was quantity.
Yeah.
And they're aware of it, and they came out and said, we're going to pull back our releases for a bit, and focus on making each one great. And I'm like, do it.
Yeah. I wonder if it had something to do too.
I don't know if they heard me.
Yeah.
I don't know if they heard
Probably not. It could be too that this was new to them, to be juggling Disney Plus with the films too. That might have been part of the problem. They're just spread a little too thin.
It's still just an amazing accomplishment what they've done across television, and I'm like, I keep saying it, and people like don't get it. I'm like, this has never happened in history. This isn't me being a comic nerd. This has never happened in the history of the filmic medium, that you have an interwoven, continuity between decades worth of films and television shows. This will be studied. Like, this will end up in film schools and stuff. Whether or not you care about the subject matter, you have to sit there going like, I mean, what if it had been like the Agatha Christie verse or something like that, where it was like, unbelievable. They just kept adapting all of her books, and Marple and Poirot, they kept crossing over. And it was like, if they had done that, it would be the same thing. We're like going, I can't believe it. Same actors, same universe, every single movie, a consistent pleaser. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter that they're superheroes. Just look at the accomplishment and go, wow.
Yeah.
And they're not done yet. I'm not counting them out.
Oh no. Yeah. Gosh.
They got my money.
We still got the X-Men to look forward to, Fantastic Four.
Oh, God damn it.
So much coming.
Fantastic.
One thing I'm looking forward to with Marvel, the Marvels is it Monica Rambeau, right? Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
To having her character a little bit more fleshed out. We did see a lot of her in WandaVision, but the thing that bugged me about, there was a lot of things that were rushed in the final couple episodes of WandaVision, I think because they actually did drop a whole episode because of time constraints in the COVID.
I don't think they dropped an episode, but they really had to compromise right at the end.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Because her character never gets a chance to react to the fact that she has superpowers all of a sudden.
Yeah, I know.
She's just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, whoa, hey. This should be mind-blowing.
I guess I'm Photon now. Oh, right. Okay, great.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll give her a moment in the movie.
And here I am just nerding out again when you've got these characters in one movie and they are basically saying it's like your powers are somehow all connected and they're body swapping, and I'm sitting there going, that is 1970s Marvel Captain Marvel. That was the whole thing. Rick Jones, we don't have a Rick Jones in the MCU, but the whole thing of the nega bands, and it's like they swap bodies. It's like their take on Captain Marvel, take on Shazam to some degree. It's like so the whole thing of I'm Kamala Khan and then I do use my powers, don't, and then suddenly Carol Danvers is standing there going, what the fuck's going on? I love it. Yeah. It is so. It's another way that they have taken something. Unlike when the DC people do it and they just pick a name out of a hat, they have taken a trope and they have, how does it work within this cinematic universe and still give you the same nerd, like acknowledgement that old fans will sit there going like, oh, that's great. And apparently the nega bands will be a part of it. That I knew that in Ms. Marvel when they gave her. They changed her a lot for the TV show, but I loved it. But, the bracelet that unlocks her powers, I'm like going, somebody please call that a nega band. And they didn't. But now I think they are going to acknowledge that. Oh,
that's great.
I'm happy.
So the AHSOKA trailer has some, winding back to the AHSOKA trailer again thing.
Mm-hmm.
There were some interesting things in there. Those two seemingly dark Jedi, but not quite, characters that we see, they're clearly antagonists. This character, I think it's Balin. I forget what his apprentice is called, but you would think that they're Sith or something like that. But their lightsabers are orange instead of red.
Yeah,
she's got a Padawan braid that you can see. So there's something very different about them. So I'm really curious to see what that is.
There's something very different sort of like about those Jedi.
Anti-hero Jedi, maybe they're not exactly evil. I mean, who knows? So that was the theory. Is that I think Dave Filoni's actually said this.
Gray Jedi.
I think Dave Filoni has actually said this, that they're, because of some rotoscoping errors or color errors in Jedi, Darth Vader's lightsaber sometimes occasionally appears orange instead of red. And I think Dave Filoni's actually said that's because he's, his alliance in the Force is shifting.
God bless that nerd. He's sitting there going frame by frame and then coming up with reasons why this thing happens. God bless his brain.
And this is his movie, so that I love that idea. So we'll see where that goes. There's also a couple scenes that look like they're depicting, or at least kind of like what's called the world between worlds. And from Rebels, which we've talked about on the show a few times here before. It's just space outside space and time. That
Yoda went there.
Did Yoda? No, did Yoda go there?
I think he went there in Clone Wars.
Did he? Well, he did. Yeah. He took a really crazy journey. I don't remember him actually going to the world between worlds, but maybe I could be. He did.
Are we gonna have this fight again?
I have to go watch that Vision Quest thing he goes on.
He did say, he goes, there's an ultimate sort of thing once you've really combined with the Force. If you're really powerful and pure Jedi, he goes, there's a place beyond time and space.
Okay.
Yeah. So, cool. Which is why one of my fan theories when Mandalorian first started, I was sitting there going like, that really is Baby Yoda, is what I was thinking. I was like going that he basically bounced back like a reincarnation state.
They could still do that, actually. Yeah. I mean, who knows? It's crazy.
Well, now he has a button to say yes and no, so that's good.
So it looks like I would not be surprised if that's tied into this somehow. That maybe it's the thrust of this story is sort of what might be the Dial of Destiny, the Indiana Jones thing, where they're trying to find a time device to go back and change the fate of the Imperial, the Galactic Civil War. So that could be really interesting. But I'm just really interested to see whatever knowing that Dave has got the reins on this thing just makes me really excited. So
I'm glad that you're calling him Dave. I keep forgetting you guys are such close friends.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, the thing is, of course, because I'm such a nerd for this stuff, you always hear about those raffles or something or charity events where you can win a dinner with people. Like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. If I had the money, I would totally bid on like just a lunch or a dinner just to sit there and just chew the fat and talk Star Wars with those guys. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be great?
It'd be awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get them on the show sometime. You never know.
Oh man, let's do that.
I've been surprised to see the kind of people on YouTube who manage to get interviews with these folks.
I'm sure
very small
obviously
YouTubers got big gets, with actors for some of these shows. So
I'm sure that it is it is a thing probably of, someone knew someone's publicist or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they do take into account how many followers does that person have?
Sure.
Who's going to, actually tune in?
Right.
I would say, John and Dave, you're at least 35 people. If you guys come and talk to us, at least 35 people are going to hear it.
One of the other things I really liked about the trailer, the Ahsoka trailer, is we see Sabine, and she's sort of visiting the mural that she's done, which was the same mural we see in the cartoon.
Yeah.
And it looks just like it's from and I love the idea that the animated depiction of those stories is essentially in her art style. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
That's great.
That's a brilliant touch. And it just makes the whole thing seem cohesive and connected.
And I need to go on record as saying something. I have no problem with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I have no problem with her. So when you add in her playing Athena,
Hera,
I'm okay with this. I mean, Hera, sorry. Yeah. Went to the wrong mythological character.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, the live actioning of those animated characters is kind of a thrill where you're like, oh, I know you from a whole other genre, but now there you are walking around. Yeah. It was cool just seeing the ghost, just seeing the ship, show up, and I was like, oh, there it is, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I when I saw her, that was one of the just little moments, just seeing her in the trailer, flying the ship. I was like, yes.
And again, I have no problem with
Chopper is the name of the droid, by the way.
Chopper, thank you. And
it only took me 55 minutes. Sorry, and what were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying, the Twi'lek, I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
It's either Twee or Twi, yeah.
That species, which is so interestingly, basically was shown primarily as dancing girls and slaves on Jabba's in Jabba's palace and all that, and they've become now like sexy to people. And for me, it's like weird stuff, big tentacles off your head. I'm sorry, but then you get a Rosario Dawson and a Mary Elizabeth Winstead, or on Mandal and Boba Fett. Why am I blanking? We're old now. It's like every 5 minutes it's us going, Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
Jennifer Beals.
Yeah.
Jennifer Beals.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, guys, I guess I'm going to admit it. You put the right actress and put tentacles on their head.
And then you blew her out.
It works. I know. For one thing, why do you get an actor that high level and then have her be in a couple episodes and you think it's going somewhere and she just gets blown up?
By the way, there have been some clarifying rumors that have come out recently that make me kind of understand what's going on with the Mando series a little bit better. There were rumors going. This is coming from Jason Ward of MakingStarWars.net. I don't know if you've ever read or familiar with that website. He's sort of like the de facto, the best, most reliable source of leaks now, because he's got, who knows, still undisclosed industry insider friends. So people will keep sending him stuff, and his track record with reporting the stuff is very good, because I think he's very careful about what he puts out. Anyway, so there were rumors going back years after season 1 of Mandalorian that there was all kinds of conflicts between Pedro Pascal and Dave Filoni and Favreau about his character and how often he has to wear the helmet and all that stuff. And he was putting his foot down. It's like, I'm not coming back unless you let me take my helmet off. But it turns out, apparently, this whole time, the story just was not being reported thoroughly. That they started production on The Mandalorian. They didn't have a lead actor yet. They had the guy in the suit, but they didn't have a voice for him yet. They originally cast Pedro just to do the voice. And he and his agents negotiated, say, no, put his face in the series too, and then up his salary, and then we'll do it. And apparently that's why they wrote in that one scene in the last episode where he has to take his helmet off so IG-11 can fix his head wound, which is amazing because that's such a great moment. It's like, how could that not have been an original idea? Yeah. But anyway, and that's why we see a little bit more of him in season 2. And so people were speculating that because we never see it, at least we may have seen him in the finale. We don't know, people, because we haven't seen it yet. Sorry. But there was a lot of speculation, like his presence in season 3 is downplayed a bit. He's kind of taken second stage, or he's kind of taken a backseat for Bo-Katan.
They're going to pass it on to Bo-Katan, and she will be the Mandalorian?
Well, that's a theory. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case or not. But I think what's probably more likely is that Pedro's just busy. He was off filming Last of Us, and so they had to figure out how to balance the season so there wasn't as much pressure on his character. So I think that's why there's been so much speculation about, are they going to kill him off?
I mean, I can see that.
I don't think it was ever that Pedro didn't want to do the show. It's just that he wanted to show his face, but that was a condition from the beginning. It wasn't something that he suddenly became bitchy about after season 1.
I could also see them doing, the focus on the reunification of the Mandalorians and the whole idea of there being the 2 branches, and that Bo-Katan, you are the one who walks in both worlds, and that kind of thing. I think that's literally the producers going, how many good actors are we going to be able to convince to come in and play Mandalorians, knowing that they don't get to take their helmets off?
Yeah.
And so I think it's the idea is that they are changing the way. This is the way. Well, the way is going to change to where you'll get some guest stars who get to take their helmets off, and you can see their pretty faces.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen now. Because now we're towards the end of the show. Now we can talk about this, and people can laugh at how wrong we are.
Oh, sure.
Speculation. But yeah, I'm hoping that's where they're going. That we're going to have the new way, and that all the characters can take their helmets off, and so Pedro will be able to be in season 4 all over the place. That's what I'm hoping.
All over the place. I don't want him in just a couple places. I want him in all over the place. Because one thing, no matter how much they show other characters like cuddle up to Grogu, I mean, Grogu is literally just sitting in Bo-Katan's lap. She's piloting the plane. Hey, doing, little buddy? What? Oh, you want some pork rinds? Here you go. That was my interpretation of that scene. Maybe I didn't read it that well, but still, I think it's still the story of, I do love the expanded Mandalorian universe. I love Bo-Katan. And it's another thing where, are you kidding? The voice actor gets to come and play the character that they played in the anime. Great. But I can't quite see the audience following. Just like, and then Din went somewhere else. Bye.
No.
Now it's the adventures of teenage Grogu and Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Yeah, that was the thing that was kind of frustrating with the season, but I think they're still kind of tumbling over themselves trying to do damage control over whatever happened with Book of Boba Fett, which I do not think was Jon Favreau's decision. I think that somebody put pressure on him, saying, and this has been rumored too, that they said, you've got to bring Grogu back now. I think it seems like they had already scripted it to happen in this season, and it probably will be apparent in this final episode. that was the case. This is a theory. I guess we'll find out.
You've been pushing this theory, and you've been pushing this one.
And you people watching already know the answer to this, so you can just laugh at whether I'm right or wrong.
I like that you're worried about how people react to this. I don't care.
All two people are still watching at this point, including me.
It'll be my brother. It'll be like, hey, Robin, what do you think? That's it.
At the end of last week, Den gets abducted. He gets captured by Gideon and taken to the debriefing room.
Moff, call me Darth.
Yeah,
Gideon.
Right. So people were speculating, what is he going to? He's going to probably be interrogated, or else they would have just probably killed him. So they're going to be using him as a linchpin for something. But I heard this theory, and I kind of like the idea of it. That would kind of make sense that Gideon would be interrogating him to try to figure out where Luke is, because if he is trying to build, as he basically says that he's building a Mandalorian trained, force sensitive army of basically Jedi warriors. So you would think that the whole purpose of that is to defeat Luke and try to snuff out the threat that's going to pose down the line. So
I mean, if they go that way, I mean that makes sense. It'd be awesome. I think they are being judicious and tentative with their use of the big Skywalker saga characters. So I think every time you're going to get a mention of Leia or Han or the Falcon or whatever, it's just, I don't know if they would make it a major plot point. It was a big shocker and surprise that Luke was so instrumental in coming in and, it's like saving the day in a badass manner and then taking Grogu and I'm going to go train him for a couple years and that kind of thing. That's great. But I don't know. Heir of the Empire, they might be working that storyline to avoid any contact.
We haven't.
So it could just be more stuff about the resurrection of Palpatine and because we all wanted that and and Thrawn and all that stuff, and it may have absolutely nothing to do with our good friends Luke, Leia, Han.
I am really hoping that we do see Zeb in this finale, because I thought it would be kind of weird if we only see him once the whole series. It was kind of it was nutty that we saw him at all. We didn't need to see him.
Yeah, absolutely. But I actually think that was a tease because he'll be instrumental in Ahsoka.
Because they just wanted to flex the work they've been doing.
Well, it was also a big hint, and that was pre the big celebration event. So that was them going like, "Well, we did sure make that Zeb look pretty good, huh?"
Yeah, because it would be cool
if we see him again.
If he showed up with a squadron like Carson Teva and Zeb and a squadron of X-Wing people show up at the end, it would make sense. That's why I was saying there's a lot of different things that could happen.
Again, I was saying this to Jerry, and maybe I said this to you last week too, but essentially whenever it's amazing because of the age we were when the original came out. And same with Superman the movie and stuff. Anytime an X-Wing shows up, or a traditional TIE fighter, it is like that is in my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I certainly do like the actor and the character that we've seen. I like seeing we're the highway cops of the New Republic. But when it's an X-Wing and it's on screen, it's just like I'm going, right in the vein.
Oh, yeah.
And the sounds, all the sound. I'm like, God damn it.
No better.
Picard's been doing that too. With whenever they go, boom, they have some of the 60s sound effects showing up occasionally. And I'm like, oh, and then of course with that end of the last episode, you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. They keep topping themselves.
Right in the vein.
Was it the week before that Data finally reasserted himself?
It's almost like as they're heading towards the end, which we will be seeing this week.
Yeah.
It's like, just what you said, they're topping themselves, and not only episode to episode, within the episode, where something major will happen. I go, that was your big thing. And I'm like, oh, that was great. And then you get 4 more big things. And by the end, you're like, I'm exhausted. That's too much.
I'm sure you were too. When that scene with Data where he's fighting battling lore in his head essentially, and you're thinking, oh, it's this game of chess he's playing with lore. Lore doesn't realize it yet, and when he finally reveals what he's been doing, I'm like, oh, yes! And I was crying and literally applauding. Just like, it was so good.
The whole concept of him like handing off is like, well, I guess I'll go away, so I'm giving you these memories and to destroy. And then he goes, but I realized the thing that you always wanted was my life.
Yeah.
So I just gave you my life. It's like, yeah, and now you're me.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no.
Merged. Yeah, it was just beautiful. I was like, that's so great.
So him handing off like his hollow trophy thing of Tasha Yar. I'm like, no, because for a while you're like, oh no, they're destroying that. Here's his cat. He's like, oh, here's Spot. No, not Spot. But you're like, oh no, he's not really destroying them. He's just giving them to him, and then when they fuse, it's all there. And
I just love. Oh, it's the best. I think it's the best performance I've seen Brent give, which is saying a lot because the man is a fucking genius. But
he's incredibly
the fact
talented.
that he gets to play Data like 2.0, and it's like he's kind of done this before, like in First Contact, he has emotions briefly, and he's just kind of drunk, like. And this one, he's still Data, but he's a little bit more nuanced, But he still has the whole
thing with him, like going
the same
like
mannerisms and everything, like.
He's like, I really wish I could make you feel better, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's okay. Yeah. And then he just puts his hand on his shoulder, and you're like going, oh, dude, that simple little thing. It's like, that's it. It's like he has gotten to a point where there's not an answer for everything, and that's incredibly human. Mm-hmm. And then him going like, all I can do is this gesture.
Yeah.
And it's a natural thing. It's not him going, I will do this. Instead, it's like, no, he's just an old friend. Yeah. And then Picard just pats the hand like, that's my buddy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Them sitting around the table. Don't even get them on the bridge of the. Oh, don't even start. And I'm like, that. I sat in that captain chair, the replica at the Star Trek experience. I got my picture taken in the captain's chair. And I'm like, to see it back and then to have the gag about
the carpet.
I really hated this carpet.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Oh, just gosh.
Yep. Anyway, so both series are heading towards what I think will be awesome ends.
Yeah. So I guess we'll touch on this again next week. We can talk about.
We will touch on it.
What we were right about, what we were wrong about, and what we hope is going to happen next. Because I know that there's. Yep. I have a feeling they are going to do another Trek series. I think Terry Matalas has already pitched. He's been vocal about it. I guess Star Wars Legacy. I think is what he wants to do.
If it's Star Wars Legacy...
I'm sorry. Star Trek Legacy.
Star Trek Legacy.
Thank you.
Star Trek Legacy was the name of my pilot that I wrote, but, that no one ever...
Was it really?
Yeah, the one that was Harry Mudd's great-great-grandson is a Starfleet material. He's a second in command. It was me trying to flip the script. It was after Nemesis, and Star Trek was quiet. There wasn't anything coming out. And I was like, I want there to be a series that tries to capture the feel of the original, as in we need more swashbucklers and less administrators, is what I said.
Yeah.
And so I was flipping all the things. I didn't make the main character the captain. The captain's a main character, but the main character is the second in command, who is not a very good officer because he's a little too much of the con artist and freewheeler. And they're not an exploratory vessel. They are literally just a supply vessel, but they end up getting involved in a very major thing and then scapegoated. So they are broken from Starfleet. Starfleet is after them. So are the main villains. They're on their own. Their ship gets modified to where it has weapons. And I had Alexander. I had Worf's son as one of the crew. I also flipped the script of where every Starfleet crew is humans, and your token alien. And in mine, it was aliens, one token human. I had a Deltan, so bald empath lady, didn't go with the Beta Z. I had a Gorn.
Wow.
And I went all in. The big thing, and the reason I call it Star Trek Legacy, is not only is Harry Mudd's great-great-grandson the main character, and Worf is his buddy. I mean, Alexander, Worf's son, is that it was the captain, who is half human, half Vulcan. We find out later, and it was obscured in his Starfleet records, is that he is the son of Savick and David Kirk. When they were on the Genesis planet, they were there for quite a while. And that was my thing. So the captain of this ship, who has purposely kept his career low profile, is actually Kirk and Savick's grandson.
Oh, Savick. Okay, I had to fish through my brain to remember the net. Yeah, okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because David and Savick were on the Genesis planet between Star Trek's 3 and 4. No, between 2 and 3. Yes. And, you know, things were getting horny.
Was it Kirstie Alley Savick or the other actress?
I no offense to Robin Curtis, but it was Kirstie Alley.
Okay.
But so good. In other words, the idea that you have Kirk's grandson who is half Vulcan and prefers to be all Vulcan and that kind of thing, and Mudd finds out, he's like going, "You're like Starfleet royalty," and the guy's like going, "Don't pass that around. I don't want my background getting out." He's like going, "Sure thing, Captain Kirk." And he's like, "I'm gonna hit you in the face." No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my Star Trek legacy, and I wrote a 2-hour pilot for a series and had a pitch packet because I was like, no one's doing anything. Trek's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know, years later, gets resurrected. Okay. My script never went anywhere.
Well, I'm glad you wrote it.
But I like it still. It starts with him doing his log, and he says, "My name is Mudd." That's the first thing he says.
Really?
Yeah, and he's waking up next to a Cardassian ambassador's wife that he's been sleeping with on Deep Space Nine, and he has to run from her jealous husband to get on board his ship.
That's great.
And the ship's called the PICARD.
Give me 2 steps. Give me 2 steps.
Yeah, it is basically that. And he's tapping his communicator badge and going, Alexander, what's our docking bay? What's our docking bay? And he's running, and they're firing phasers at him. It's like docking bay 13. He's like, I'm on my way. Open the door. Open the door. I had fun.
Or is it 3 steps? Give me 3 steps.
Give me 3 steps. Give me 3 steps, mister. Give me 3 steps toward the door.
Yeah.
Is that a song you guys cover pretty much every night?
No. God, no. Yeah, I was thinking we were talking about Trek a couple weeks ago, and you talked about how you just please get away from the prequel series stuff. And as much as I love Strange New Worlds, it occurred to me that the reason why the show is great has nothing to do with the time period it's set in. It's the cast and the premise.
It's the cast and the tone.
The tone, right. The episodic
and similar
structure.
Now, the difference, like if my script had gone somewhere, the difference with mine is it would have arcs. It's just the way and actually Strange New Worlds does too, because it is building towards Pike knows his fate. You know, he knows what. Which is an interesting thing
to be heading towards. Yeah.
But it is, and I love this about Strange New Worlds, is that it is adapting the original series format, which is week to week, new storyline, new thing, and it's all about the interpersonal relationships of the crew and how that builds over the course of all these isolated stories.
Yeah.
Because the Next Generation is still unbelievably great, but it started that trend towards now. Plus, they had to do so many episodes for a season, so you get all those filler episodes.
100 episodes.
Oof. And then, and some people are absolutely thinking that Deep Space Nine and the Dominion War and all that stuff is the best Star Trek will ever be. And you're like, yeah, but the big arcing storylines and all that, I'm not.
Yeah, not a big fan.
So I do like an adventure. And that's what Star Trek is when it's best, is an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
With emotional weight, but just I want to see them go and explore stuff, not be gritty warriors, not boring, like I said, administrators constantly talking about Prime Directive. Get out there and fuck some shit up.
Yeah. I did love that they mentioned Prime Directive as the reason why the Enterprise D's saucer section was preserved. It's like,
and that was again look at the thought. They're like, well, how do we explain that? It's like, well, dude, they couldn't leave that on a primitive world.
Including
of
Kirk's
course
body.
not.
Yeah, that's probably
makes sense. Yeah. You get that stuff back.
It just makes sense. So,
Ugh.
And about the Star Trek Legacy series, I was hoping that Shaw would be a part of that. Of course, in this last episode, he was killed, which I was very upset about. Although I have a theory, and of course, I'm probably already wrong by the time this episode comes out. But I was reminded that 7 of 9, whom he is left with there on the Titan, 7 had when she on Voyager. When she was first disconnected from the Borg and she became a member of the crew, she had this leftover ability that she could resurrect people within 24 hours of death with her nanites. She only did it once with Neelix, and it was so traumatic for him that I don't know if it's canon, but she never did it again. I'm sure the writers are like, well, this is just too convenient. But she never did it again. But it was a traumatic experience for Neelix. Like, it took him a while to get over it.
I didn't even remember that. You digging that out of the... Oh.
Yeah. She could maybe be forced to do it because they're in a corner or something, and they need maybe she and Raffi are separated. Who knows what the reason is? But I could see her like going, "What are you doing?" It's like, have we ever done this before? Yes, once. It didn't go so well.
I gotta say, I mean, that is very
what a trip it would be to have.
Dive fan thing. But at the same time, the way the show has been put together, they would know that, and they could use it.
And it would be a crazy turn.
It's
for his
also a
character.
tribute to how awesome his character developed, and the actor being so good.
Yeah,
that because what an asshole that no one likes at the beginning, and then by the end you're like, dude, I love Shaw.
Yeah. But it would
if he goes out heroically, it's still good. But if they bring him back, no one's going to complain.
Did you ever see District 9?
Yes.
Remember the guy is basically, racist against aliens, and he becomes an alien. They could have a similar thing with his character in this, that he's been, pissed off at the Borg the whole time.
Turned into the thing that he hated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it. But again, who knows? One episode, and then she's done. Did you try to get tickets to go see it on IMAX?
No, I haven't even seen if it's showing here or not.
I think it is somewhere around here, but I'm pretty sure it's sold out, and I'm broke. I'm just going to watch it on TV.
I forgot about that.
It does. That show is totally movie worthy. I would see it on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
I saw 2 episodes of Battlestar Galactica live streamed on the big screen here when it was hot.
Oh, really?
And of course, Katie Sackhoff is a local. She's Pacific Northwest, Portland. Oh. So she was in attendance.
Oh, cool.
At one of them, she was tipsy. but adorably so. So after the episode, there was a little Q&A, and the guy who, the theater guy is like, so questions for Katie, and she's like, well, But it was pretty cool. I mean, and that was a show that looked good on the big screen. But this thing, they spent the money. They knew this was the winner. Mm-hmm. Oof. All right, I gotta go. I'm hungry. Right, so again, we need your thoughts, wishes, and prayers to get Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni on our show. So if you know them, you let them know that they got a couple of fans.
Yep.
Oh, also stress them they would not be forced to physically be in either one of our apartment-y spaces. They're free to sit in their own nice houses.
It's a special allowance for them.
Yeah, special allowance.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So I'll see you later. Live long and prosper.
Yes. Thank you, folks. We'll see you next week.